Hey, Doug, is there such a thing as a style of running back that an offensive lineman finds enjoyable to block for? Does James fit in that category? And if you were still playing, what would you enjoy most about uh, blocking for James?
Well, I think it's not about, whether it's our line or anyone's line. I think everyone would appreciate it. I think, anyone that, um, that can gain positive yardage, that really understands the scheme, that works the way that he works, um, the way that he, credits the guys that are around him, not just the offensive line, but the tight ends and receivers and fullback and, everyone around him. I think you have a great appreciation for that. Um, styles, they all depend. There's different styles that can be productive. Um, he's got a couple of them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a couple of things. I don't know if I would ever, pigeonhole him into one. But I think the one thing that I would describe him for myself, watching him, as a very disciplined type runner. So that's always looking, to get the positive yardage. And I think that was a big thing that I saw during training camp. I think that's what you're seeing on the field. He has the ability to make people miss, which is obviously a key thing for that position. But his understanding of the scheme and his protection and just really all the aspects of what you need someone to do, protection, catching the football, carrying out fakes, learning, understanding the scheme, being productive. I think, really he's someone that checks all the boxes.
And is he really going to be effective when you get a game where you're in the lead in the second half and you have to burn some clock? Because that when you're really going to see him stand out for you guys even more than he has now.
Yeah, I would say that the last part, I think, I mean, he has stood out. I think that, you look already, if, some of the runs that were negated for penalties, not just the other one last week, the 50-yard run, but there's been another run, maybe two or three that have been negated. And if you look at that and you put that in there, it's quite impressive, for what he's done. I don't look at it that way. I think he's someone that can affect a game at any point, Gary. You know what I'm saying? Whether, it might not be the yardage you see in the run game, even though our yards per carry is going, is very good right now. But you can see him. He can also, affect it in the passing game because, he does have the ability to make people miss. He is difficult to tackle. So, um, I don't know if it's one or the other. I think he can be effective in either way a game goes and affect the game.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Smitter. Let's go Mark and then Mia.
Yeah, Doug, I was just curious if you had talked to Bill O'Brien and what your reaction was to him getting fired, and then maybe if you can just take us through the injuries, and any of those guys you think will have a chance to practice today.
Yeah, I think Mark. I think most everyone knows that Bill and I obviously have a friendship that probably leads towards more of like a brother type relationship. So for me, speaking to him is not an unusual thing. We speak quite a bit. I know this. I probably definitely in this league. I would say that I probably know him better than anyone. And I know that he's an outstanding football coach. He's proven that. I know that he's very loyal to his coaches and players and organizations. I think that he's a guy that has won 4 out of 5 titles in the AFC South, and I think he's someone that's he's an outstanding family man. He cares. I mean, there's just so many great qualities. I can't believe I have to say this publicly now. Because normally I bust his chops, but and he's a great friend, and it's always sad, when you see things like this, and I'm sure that he'll have opportunities down the road because of all the things that he's done. So, it's just the way that I think we all understand. I know this is the way the league is. And injury wise,
Yeah, yeah.
the
I
only
mean,
the only the only one I'm not sure about we'll have some guys not practicing today for different reasons, but the only one that I don't feel good about is DJ Hayden. Everyone else has a chance, so I feel I don't want to say I feel great, but everyone else has a chance to play on Sunday, so I'm excited about that.
And just as a side note, because of the Bill stuff, have you ever been fired? Because I was looking through I don't know that you've been actually ever terminated.
No, I haven't.
That's it. That's unique, right? For this many years in this profession.
Well, I remember George DeLeon, who was my offensive line coach at Syracuse and been around for a long period of time. He told me one thing. He said, if you haven't been fired, then you haven't been coaching long enough. I thought, well, maybe I've been lucky I haven't coached that long.
Thanks, Mark. Let's go over to Mia, and then we'll go to D-Rock's kitchen.
Hey, Doug. I know I speak personally when I say this, but another Titans positive. I guess 2 of them. Now Stephon Gilmore has it. Do you have to kind of calm down your guys, or what's the conversation you have when, the media and everybody else is quick to note, we have another positive here, we have another positive there, or maybe on the flip side, are you, concerned after seeing more positive tests across the NFL?
I think, Mia, with the way we tried to address this situation, right from the beginning, is that we hit on, the protocols. I would say we may not go more than a day or 2 without talking about, saying COVID and the protocols and things of that nature. So I think for us, if to answer your question, I think if you haven't said a lot about it and you just had the protocols in place, then I think you can create, a lot of, anxiety or issues or problems. But I think when you're talking about it, pretty much on a daily basis, that you're able to always keep reminding the players and keep them going. So when things change, and knowing that, every time we have talked about the protocols, I've always talked to the players about, hey, it's a season of change. These things can change as they go, and they're coming from people that are experts. Like I said before, whether it's the league or the PA or both of them working together, and scientists, and it can come from states and government. It can come from a lot of things. So I think the way we approached it from the beginning has given us. It's helped us, to be able to talk to the players. Like, really yesterday and today, we spoke about it, quite a bit of, what we have to do and how we have to stay on top of it, along with the staff. So, for us, we look at it as, okay, let's talk about it. Let's make sure we're in compliance. Let's make sure we're doing everything the right way. Let's make sure we're sharing the information that we're getting, from the league and the PA. And that's how usually we start. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we understand all this stuff. This is why we have to do it. Now let's get our focus back to football. So I don't see the anxiety or the issues, what I'm saying, that maybe some people may think are kind of, we understand it and we accept it and we move on. I don't think it's something that we're trying to fight, or we disagree with, or maybe we don't understand. Not to say that I'm never going to say that, hey, we may like a lot of this stuff, what I'm saying, because some of it is straining from a standpoint of not being done before, but we accept it. So I think that's where we are as a football team and as an organization, and I can't say enough about the people that around that we're all doing a good job and we're all policing ourselves.
And then just wondering, obviously with Bill not being there in Houston, kind of building off Mark's question a little bit, have you ever faced a team, I'm trying to think, a team that just had their coach fired? And, what have you seen from a team that maybe, all of a sudden, they're 5-6 days removed from losing their leader?
Well, a lot of times, that team will go out there, and the Texans, watching them on film, have played extremely hard, and I think that they've played, some elite, at least 2, elite teams in our conference, in Baltimore and Kansas City. I think everyone knew coming out that, when the schedule came out, I didn't even think there were reports on how brutal, the beginning of that schedule was. And I think it's even tougher when you don't have an off season, I know that everyone else didn't have an off season either, but to give yourself the time and preparation is tough. So I don't know. I can't look back and say it, but normally, what happens is, human nature takes its course as okay, hey, they wound up, either firing the head coach or benching the quarterback. I think then all of a sudden people start looking and saying, hey, we got to step up our game. So you usually get the best effort from a team.
Thank you, Mia. Let's go D-Rock, John Reed, and then Hayes.
Hey, Doug, Carl Davis coming back this week. How much can he help? And I'm just interested to know about Devine Ezigbo. What's the plan for him? Is he able to come off IR anytime soon?
Yeah, I think with Carl, that's always a possibility. Saying D-Rock of something happening there and creating a roster spot for him. And I think with Devine, he had a good offseason. We're just making sure that he's ready to go from a soft tissue thing. It was we don't want to bring him back and all of a sudden get an injury because we were really excited about him. He was having a really good camp. 2 years ago, he had a great preseason camp when he was with New Orleans before we had gotten him. So, we're just making sure that he's fine and doing our due diligence there.
Raquel Armstead's still on the COVID-19 list. Can you give us an update on him, how he's doing, and if there's any chance you think he might be available or be able to come back anytime soon?
Yeah, I don't see that for I'm really not sure. I'd have to go back and look into that, to be able to give you an answer. I just I've been focused on so much of what's going on here that I don't know. So I apologize for that, but I think, just if you need it, just tell Tad and we'll get you something on that.
Okay. Thanks, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, D-Rock. Let's go to John Reed and then Hayes.
How you doing, Coach?
Good job.
Can you assess Gardner Minshew, just his pocket presence, and is it hard at practices to try to simulate what he sees in games? And is it? I mean, just kind of, can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, I think it's always difficult. It's less challenging to simulate maybe the coverage aspect of things, in practice, but it's a little bit more challenging to simulate, the rush, because so those are one of the, those are the things that I think not just for us, but I think everyone goes through that. I mean, that's happened everywhere, that I've been, when you get off the footwork and you're moving around, you can simulate scrambles, and work on scramble drills. Everyone around the league does that. So it's tough. And then, if you look at it, I think, his, the things that we wanted him to work on, he's worked on. I think people, have to remember last year was the first year really playing. This year is his first year as a full-time starter. So, I see someone that's getting, that's going to be getting better and better each week. I think that, the amount of experience that you get on game day, I always wondered what you can compare that to, practice reps or scrimmage reps or things of that nature. And, so everything he's getting, and, in talking to him the other day, there's some things that he's done really well. And, there's some opportunities out there where he knows that he can do, that he knows he can do it and he wants to do, a better job of, so he can take advantage of it offensively. So, he's in a good place because he's probably one of the most competitive people that I've ever been around. Obviously he's smart, and then obviously he continues to work to be the best he can for our football team.
Thank you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, John. Let's go 3 final questions. Let's go Hayes, John Shipley, and then we'll finish with Gene.
Hey, Doug, do you have an update on Jared Wilson?
Yeah, I think there's a good possibility that he might be able to come up this week.
Okay, great. And then can you reflect just on what this football year has been like for you, going back to from week 2 last year, the last time you went to Houston, to where it is now? Just, what you'll take away from the memories of the last year?
Gosh, that's a question I really don't put a lot of thought into. I apologize for that. I think I've always been one to say that when I have time, which I don't have, then I'll look back on some of the things. Right now you're in a mode of always trying to get better, trying to improve, always trying to handle coaches and the players. So, it's very difficult for me to look back. And so I apologize for that. I can't.
No, I understand.
I'm a deep thought guy. It would take me, I need a couple of days off, probably.
Well, it would probably take.
If I get COVID and have a couple of days, then maybe I will reflect and be able to answer that question.
Well, we'll get a beer and you can walk me through the last year.
Might need more than one.
Yep,
let's go to Shipley and then Gene.
Hey, Coach. I know even with the Texans record at 0-4, they still have a really talented quarterback. What have you seen from Deshaun Watson and the kind of challenge he presents for you guys this year?
I think John, it's like everything that you see. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He can beat you in so many different ways. They put a lot of pressure. I mean, they got the read option game. They have he can drop back, he can scramble, he can boot, he can naked, he can extend plays. So again, I think, you see a lot of quarterbacks in this league, and then, when you see the ones that have the ability to run and throw the ball deep like he can and keep his eyes down the field, it creates a lot of challenges. So, he's an outstanding football player. That's obvious by, what he's done. We at times have, it's been tough to get him down, I mean, for a quarterback that you would think that, hey, once you wrap him up, he's going to go down. I mean, he can escape tackles. I think he makes, everyone around him better. He really does. So I think, all those things that come into play, create a great challenge. And, we've done a good job at times, against him. And, and then we fell short. So, we know that it's going to be a great challenge and we have to do some better things.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. No problem, John.
Appreciate it, Shipley. Let's go over to Gene for the final question.
Hey, Doug, if it's possible for you to put your friendship with Bill O'Brien aside for a second, how upsetting do you think it is for coaches in this industry when they see a coach get released this early in the season, which has happened only a handful of times in NFL history?
Yeah, I can't speak for all the coaches. I learned a long time ago, when I was a player and then actually making a decision to get into coaching. The evolution of, when I first started out in Division III and kind of worked my way up, starting to see the changes. I was able to I recognized the business part about football, because what's different is, when you're in high school, that relationship you have, like my high school coach and coaches and and my teammates are still really close. There's that, all of us that have played team games or team sports, men or women, understand that bond that's out there. And, it's a special bond. Now, my high school coaches were also teachers, in the school. And it was, you build this great relationship. And in your mind as a young man, you think about that relationship and, you expect it to be that way at every level. And then, when I went off to college, after my second year, my offensive line coach was released. And that's kind of the first thing that kind of shocked me a little bit, of someone that was naive, to the business part of it. And, in the ensuing 3 years, I had, 3 different line coaches, so I started to realize that. And then when I went in the NFL and I played and I bounced around, I started to realize, the relationships between, coaches and players and the financial aspect of things. Now all of a sudden you're listening to contracts or incentives or whatever it may be from, the player side, which that's the side I was on. And then when I, first started coaching in Division III, well, a lot of those coaches, they were tenured. They had they were a professor or taught something at the school and had their masters. And, you didn't feel like there's always pressure to win just because you're competitive. But, as you start moving up, obviously, what's changed is that, if you don't perform, you don't win, someone's got to go. And so I think, as I progressed in this profession, I've realized that nothing probably would ever shock me. what goes on in the NFL. So, when things happen, I think we all look around and, we all know that, it's kind of like when you get the questions of, your job security. I mean, you're every day you're working to keep your job. The perception on the outside may be different for some people. A lot of people, approach it that way. I can't speak for anyone's, specific coach, but that's what we're all striving to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gene. We'll be back at 10:50 with Coach Gruden. And based on Hayes' question about Jared Wilson, he will return to practice, so he'll be designated for return today, the start of the 21-day window. So just for your guys' notes. We'll see everybody at 10:50. Thank you.
Thanks, Tad. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Yep.